Hey, everybody, it's another week and it's another opportunity to get together almost live with the co host, Bob Evans, and the man, the myth, the legend, the host, Kevin Kelly. Came up with this whole concept, did all the legwork. No, I didn't do any of that. And I'm not really the host, it's Bob. He pushes the buttons, he sets up the room. The only thing that I did this week, everybody, is I helped choose a topic. So how about that? Do I get an A for effort, Bob?
You get an A for effort, and you. I like that you were the man, the myth, and the legend. I've never heard that before from anyone. Very original,
No.
and I like the fact that you did pick out something that 10 minutes ago I sent to you, and I said pick one, and you did. So good job.
Actually, I picked two because there are two
You did.
topics
All right. You
that
did.
I think sort of blend together. And what we do here in Almost Live, and we thank everybody for joining us. Of course, um, our journey, the Bob Evans journey, the Kevin Kelly journey, the roads are intertwined. We're now together, and they had been on parallel tracks for a while, and with intersections sporadically. And now we've basically combined forces. It is the Mega Powers 2025. And what we're doing is traversing the country and even sometimes out of the country to make sure that the gospel of pro wrestling and the teaching and the serving and the support that this industry needs, and that the young wrestlers of today and the older wrestlers of today need, that we're there to serve.
Mm-hmm.
To that end, Bob is going to be on a plane, as a lot of you will watch this, either going to or coming back from the Pacific Northwest. What a way to celebrate the Memorial Day weekend, Bob,
Yeah,
by,
Vancouver.
by
Yeah,
leaving the continental United States.
running away, as they say.
Oh,
Vancouver.
no.
Yes.
He's defecting to Vancouver.
He's defecting, but only temporarily. So that's really just a visit. Um, Vancouver Island Pro Wrestling this weekend, Friday the 23rd, Saturday the 24th, two big events. One in Victoria, one in Nanaimo, Nanaimo. And then we have a seminar on Sunday. So it's a busy, very busy weekend coming back hopefully Monday morning. The weather is somewhat cooperating as it's stormy out, but I don't think it's quite as bad as they said it was going to be, hopefully.
Right.
Goodness. And yeah, it's been another crazy busy week and preparing and trying to figure out things and going through some stuff that's not always easy. And it's you and I had a long talk yesterday about how the hard is how we know we're doing the right thing and how we're being challenged. So but today we wanted to cover a couple of things. First of all, I have to nail this early or I'll forget. ProWrestlingClass.com. I have a promoter class coming up. Starts Tuesday, May 27th, 4 days from now, as we speak from here. And it is $300. Go to ProWrestlingClass.com. It's an 8-week course with a week in between. So there's 4 hour and 15-minute sessions to give you time to complete the assignment I give you and work it out. And pretty much almost everybody that's worked with me has increased their business. The people that haven't, I can almost guarantee that they probably didn't do the stuff, and that's okay. But so that's kind of where we are. But you had some interesting topics. I gave you about 15 topics to pick, and you there were a couple you were zoning in on, and I figured we could briefly touch upon those today.
Yeah, what we're going to talk about is how to break through and how to get noticed and how to get booked in places where promoters seemingly do not, they leave you on read and they ignore you. How to break through and how to get to the places that you want to get to. And when we'll kind of dive off there a little bit, I do want to apologize in advance because I look a mess. Don't ever get a dog because I have a puppy, and I of course have sleep apnea like so many others, and the damn dog chewed up my sleep apnea mask. So I've been sleeping the last few nights sleeping without a CPAP mask, and it's
Mm.
not going well, as you could tell. So my normal, movie star, silver screen, good looks are somewhat tempered today. So I do want to apologize to all the viewers. Um, I also want to touch on real quick the fact that the announcement of all the information regarding Saturday, August the 9th, and the big wrestling event that's coming to Carlisle, the Carlisle Expo Center. The promotion's name, the logo, in its logo form, all of the important information, including the ability to order tickets, to get the VIP tickets, to get first dibs. That's going to happen Tuesday, right after Memorial Day. So we're really excited about that. We're putting all the pieces together. And as soon as we wrap up this, I'm jumping on a call with the video guy. And I've got another call later on this afternoon with the trademark attorney. And we've got some exciting news all the way around coming Tuesday, right after Memorial Day.
Well, we have to get the snow machine fixed, and we have to get all the Santa hats in our sizes to wear for Christmas Crush Wrestling. It's going to be great. Christmas in August, 7 a.m. start. Going to be great. Picnic tables, optional. There'll be dancing fairies. There'll be juggling alligators with Santa hats on. It's going to be great. It's going to be the athletic spectacle. Yes, the athletic spectacle of the summer.
And the town you're going to, the way to remember it, by the way, Nanaimo was its name-o. Thank you.
Yes.
And so that's kind of the big news. Well, we'll take care of that out the way. And of course, Facebook. I'm mainly going to do this on Facebook because I've grown to love Facebook now. I also have grown to love the artificial intelligence of ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways that we create content now is just the idea generation portion. Give me some tips, give me some ideas. And everything that we talk about here on Almost Live and all of our posts and all of our seminars, we want you to take it and workshop it and put it in your own words and make it work for you. Customize it. Maybe there's a little nugget or something that Bob said or Kevin said, and you want to expound upon it more. And I would use any of that, but we use ChatGPT just to get ideas flowing. And then you have to do the work off of those ideas.
Right.
And Bob, that's been like a big game changer for me because, as I've told you, I was afraid of it at first because I thought it was just here to take over the world and kill us all. But I realize now that it's a really, really useful tool in helping build business in 2025 and create content and do all the things that we're talking about here on Almost Live.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, it would be difficult, especially without a budget. And since we're working with, we have some money, but not a lot, and we need idea generation. We've worked on, we developed 20 or 30 logos, and then we didn't necessarily use the logo directly from ChatGPT, but we got it generated, got the idea we wanted, and then sent it to my guy, Rick Fonseca, to come clean up. And Rick, put your own spin on this, make it professional, make it nice, and we'll throw you some money. But it saves Rick some of the conceptual time. He doesn't have to come up with it from scratch. He can come up with it kind of 80% of the way there. And that's one way to save time and money. So that's what we're doing there. Also, I needed ideas. Give me ideas for a podcast. If you were imparting wisdom to young wrestlers, what are the 15 or 20 things you would do a podcast about for independent pro wrestlers? Now, you can generate all those ideas you want, but you better have something to say when it happens. Remember, one of the definitions of an expert is someone who can teach it to someone else. So that's why idea generation is great. Use it for it, but make sure that you can do something with it once you generate those ideas. And we are not just printing out stuff on ChatGPT and reading it to you. We're just getting ideas of, okay, because ChatGPT is supposed to be the collection of all human knowledge, right? So, eventually. So what are wrestlers searching for? What are they, not just spiritually, but what are they searching for on Google? What are they searching for on Facebook? What are they looking for to get answers? And that's what we're here for. We want to leave the next generation, and we want to leave the next generation better than how we found it. And change is scary for everybody. I get it. but we might as well work with it, and we might as well, because that's what they told you to do. Now, obviously it's changing faster than ever, but they told you that accept the change, work with the change, and it'll most of the time benefit you. I don't expect that to change. I really don't. I don't expect
No.
a different situation. And if you're going to use it to make crappy posters and terrible posts that aren't in your voice, then I wouldn't use it. Because if somebody kind of talks like they're from the streets and all of a sudden they have this flowery prose, I'm going to kind of know the difference. And pretty soon they already have detectors at schools. You can run it through a program to see if somebody's used ChatGPT at school, which is good for the kiddies to know. But
Right.
they'll be able to detect that soon enough. So and human knowledge and human experience isn't going away. In fact, I think it's actually going to become more valuable, because I think people
Right.
are leaning on this stuff, and there's nothing wrong with leaning on the stuff, but they're gonna lean on it to the point where they're over leaning on it, and then they'll lose their touch. So that's why you want to stay sharp, have your own particular point of view, have your own voice, and use chat GPT AI to launch you into that next stratosphere.
So, topic creation, great source. And I used it, of course, to come up with the topics that we're talking about today here on the show that I invented.
Yes.
But it got me thinking about the George Carlin line. There's a big club out there, and guess what? You and I ain't in it. Why do independent promotions seemingly book the same people over and over again and not me? And how to break through. It's an interesting topic, Bob, because the idea of changing minds is difficult to do, and changing perceptions is even harder.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that in regards to looking at how to get noticed, and I used to say this all the time, we used to say this all the time in WWE, if they're not buying what you're selling, sell them something else.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If a wrestler is on the undercard and wants to be, main eventer, and wants to stop being just on Jacked and Metal, then come up with another idea. Now, Dustin Rhodes famously came up with an idea of wanting to get breast implants. Certainly would have gotten him noticed, certainly would have got attention, but would have scarred his body. And luckily, the powers that be in the WWE said, no, that's a terrible idea, Dustin. Do not do that. And it's not going to change anything, because perception was already out there about him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he needed to change himself, and he needed to change his environment in order to present himself differently. Comeback run, then now in AEW, completely reborn as a sober man of 18, 19 years. God bless him.
Yeah.
So that's a prime example of being in the club and not being in the club. Now, of course, famously, the Clique in WWF, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, X-Pac, kind of ruled the roost in WWF with the gatekeepers and made it impossible for guys to get over. In fact, actively worked to make sure that people didn't get over, that they didn't like. There are environments like that out there in the independent circle, Bob. Tell me it isn't so.
Yeah, it's that's everywhere. That's human nature, right? You want to,
yeah.
Once you develop kind of your country or your tribe, you're good. You don't necessarily think you need any help. And one of the ways I teach people to, when they message promoters, is message delicately. Don't say, I want to come work for you, I want to come wrestle for you, because if you come across too assertively or aggressive, you will be considered an intruder. And I believe this plays George Carlin club analogy. You'll be an intruder at the gate. You'll be not let in. In fact, they'll be actively now offended that you're picking on my wrestlers. Why would I need you? I have funny wrestlers. My wrestlers are good. I don't need you. So you have to, and this kind of pushes us off to, okay, how do I solve this problem, I
Right.
think you have to message carefully. Again, think service, think what you can do for them rather than what they can do for you. We all want something from each other. And it's kind of a fun little game of how do we get it. And the counterintuitiveness of the whole thing is you will get the thing you want if you help enough people get what they want. It's the old Zig Ziglar saying, not Dolph Zig. And if you do that and serve others really well, you'll get what you want. We've been putting this into play for years, but this year we've put it into play tenfold, and we're doing much better than we've ever had in the independents as far as finances and schedule. And we could be busier. We've turned down stuff. We've had to postpone things because we're, busy and doing a lot of stuff too. So, but we also come in and say, this is how we feel like we can help you. These are the things we noticed. And now we're elder statesmen, we're older guys, and people usually know who we are when we come in. So we have a different point of view. So you may not want to say, here's all the stuff that's wrong with your company. In fact, I don't recommend you do that, but you can say, hey, I noticed this. How about this? And those are two very important statements you can use. Hey, I noticed this. Hey, I noticed you didn't have any lucha wrestlers or masked guys on the show. How about, or you can say, I know somebody, and either one is fine. I know a couple of guys that could put on a hell of a match for you, or I know a real cool masked guy who gets over with the kids. And I noticed that you had a lot of similar baby faces. So maybe this other wrestler would be fun because he's smaller. He identifies with the kids, kind of a local like Rey Mysterio or Kalisto kind of guy. That might be somebody. Would that be something you're interested in? And you start setting the table, serving them immediately, even when you're not working for them. And it may take you a year to work for these people. It may take you never. You may never work for these people. But you have to keep coming back and offering them something. Another thing that one of the things that's been the most effective for me getting booked, especially when people don't know me, is, hey, how you doing? Tell me about yourself. What's your company like? Where do you run? How often do you run? What's your budget? And I don't need tax returns. I just need, give me some information. What are you doing for advertising? What are you doing for this? What are you doing for this? What kind of wrestling do you like? Not as a fan, but as a owner of a company.
Right.
Ask them. You can argue about. We can argue about this person's booking or TV writing all you want, Vince Russo. But Vince Russo, the first 10 questions are going to be about you. He's not going to ask you, did you watch me on TV? He's going to ask you about yourself. And pretty soon you've gotten the guy could write an article on you for all the information he's gotten on you. And it's because he wants to try to help you with character development down the line. So again, I mean, I'm sure you want to add to this, but it being in service to others and asking them about them and their business several times and getting that information before anything happens with you, I think is vital.
The harder you try, the less you'll succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And the prime example of that is us in the last 10 years and now here in the last year actively. I personally am no longer trying to establish my name as an announcer and to achieve a level of financial certainty in wrestling, which is what I was always working toward. And I've done that. And what I found is that what I really want to do is teach and serve others. And by changing my philosophy and changing my goals, it has opened up so many different doors. If you keep knocking, and like to Bob's point, one of the things that I've noticed hey, I put out the thing about, I'm going to start running my own shows, is I got a ton of people, of course, who said, I would love to work for you. But I got a few people who said, I know a guy. And those people, I just remembered. And this wasn't like something actively that I did, but I remember recommendations over personal requests. And if you can make recommendations, I think that is a really great way. I don't want anything personally in this, but I would like to recommend somebody to you. Like, let's say, for example, you want to be in GCW. Okay. And I would imagine that they probably get hundreds of requests a day, booking requests from wrestlers. And it's very hard to stand out in that type of field. So change the message and recommend somebody. I would like to recommend so and so. I don't know if they have even contacted you, but I saw them recently and I thought that they would be fantastic. They're ready to break out. They're ready to get out in a bigger platform. And I just wanted to put their name on your radar, assuming that you already know who they are. Change the tone, change the business model, change everything. Because if you're recommending people, now all of a sudden people are going to remember you for that, because it's a much shallower pool of emails that they've got to sort through. Oh, who was the guy that the guy recommended? That's easy to find, because in the subject line it's going to be recommendation, or reference or referral or something like that.
Right.
So it's and what we're talking about is very difficult to do. Okay, let's just say that, because what you're talking about is changing, is getting into a group that's very hard to get into. And so but if you want to be there, that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. And what we're suggesting are ways that you can try to get into a club that may not necessarily want you. We know this from personal example. Sometimes, Bob, and I would like you to expound upon this, sometimes you got to just be patient and play the long game. And even if you get a sniff, you may not be getting over, you may not be getting matches, you may not be used frequently, but eventually, because of the cyclical nature of wrestling and talent booking, people come, people go, your number will get called. Once you get in, it takes a while for them to start to use you, and you got to stay patient. It can take a while, and it could be very frustrating. We know that personally from Ring of Honor.
Right. And Ring of Honor for me was a constant journey of trying to figure out how I fit in. And in the beginning, I thought I was going to be a wrestler there because I thought I was the greatest wrestler in the world. And I might have been the greatest wrestler. Knocked the camera over. Greatest wrestler in the world as far as being a guy from New England and in my age group or whatever. And who even knows what that even means. But I realized quickly that I was a good wrestler, very good wrestler, but I wasn't a great wrestler, and that's okay. The thing I could work on that would really help me was the training aspect of it. So once I got in and I paid my money to go in the first tryout camp and got a job as a manager and managing Mike Bennett and doing that, which I was grateful for. It wasn't the job I wanted, though. I wanted to wrestle. And Jim Cornette said it, and he didn't say it dismissively or disrespectfully. He said, well, you can still wrestle in the indies, but for here, we see you being a manager. And I didn't accept that for an answer. I didn't want to accept that for an answer. I accepted it for the time because I needed a foot in the door. And so I got my foot in the door. I worked hard as a manager. I did everything I was asked. But I still didn't have a very good attitude. I was still had a chip on my shoulder. And not a good one. You can have a good chip on your shoulder too. You can be competitive and use some of that, which I recommend. But I was, it was kind of toxic. I was really, I think I was inventing boogeymen and really thinking that everybody was out to get us maybe a little bit more than they were, and didn't really do Mike a big service with that. But eventually we kind of put that aside and just said, you know what, we can all kind of just get along here. We don't have to be the best of friends, but we can get along here. And when I finally started relaxing and just realizing, Mike was kind of ingratiating himself and he's always been a good worker. So he just really had to wrestle everybody and that would be his chance. I just started making myself useful, showing up at the Ring of Honor trial camps. And the first couple after the first one I went to and kind of just inserted myself very strategically. And maybe once or twice over that 5-hour period, I might say something. I tried to say like the most wise, awesome, kick-ass thing I could. So Delirious would kind of poke his eyebrow up, and Jerry Lynn, who was training some of the early ones, would poke their eye up, and it was very strategic. But I had to put myself in that place, and then I had to be very patient. And for an ADHD go-getter like I am, who would rather have the answer yesterday than wait 5 seconds for it tomorrow, it was tough. And it took me maybe 5 or 6, well, probably 4 or 5 trial camps to finally get paid to do them. And then it was still kind of like, why is this guy here? And then I had to prove my knowledge over and over and over again. And and it was always inserting myself in kind of into situations where I could help. Steve Carino and I didn't always see eye to eye in the beginning. And I saw some opportunities where his son, Colby, who was like 14 at the time, 15 at the time, was kind of rolling around in the ring, minding his own business, just kind of fooling around. And I said, hey, let me show you a couple things. And I saw Steve kind of give me the side eye a few times. But, I just trained his son. You want to get over with somebody, train their kid, and train them well. And, I'm thankful that Colby calls me one of his trainers, but there was a time when I thought Brandel Cheeseburger was being mistreated, and I didn't like the way he got treated at a camp. No names, because I think it was just a miscommunication and a mistake. And I don't think anybody did anything on purpose, just a philosophy difference. But I thought he had gotten a little bullied and beat up, and I didn't really like it. So I said, hey, let me team up with the kid. And went out of my way to showcase him, show the differences between a little 140-pound African-American guy who's half my age and a big white kind of chubby guy at the time, and really show the differences, not the same, and show what I could do with, give me this rookie, give me this no-name rookie who's trying hard, and I'll make him a household name. And obviously a lot of other people did it too, but I feel very strongly that I contributed a lot to that. And we ended up teaming for 2 years. And then journeying through there, when I turned on him, here comes Tim Hughes, who I met at the Monster Factory. And Tim was a guy who was scratching around himself, was thinking about quitting wrestling, couldn't really find a way, went to the Ring of Honor camp, and everybody started teasing us. Oh, he kind of looks like your son. He kind of looks like your son. So we played off of that, where he became my flunky. We never really revisited the son thing as much, but the younger guy trying to impress the older veteran, and I'm teaching him how to be salty and a jerk and all that. And we teamed. I mean, he became one of my best friends, and we've had over 300 matches together on the road. And, but it was always about finding those opportunities and figuring out where you fit. And it may not be the job you want, and it may take you a while to show up and just do everything they ask of you. When, again, a year and a half later, after I had managed Mike early in Ring of Honor and done everything I asked, I said, I want to wrestle here. And I said it to you first, because you were always kind of the guy reading the room and helping me out with that. And you said, sit him down, ask for 5 minutes of TV early, sit down and ask him for an opportunity. And I sat down with Jim Cornette and Delirious, and I said, I've been working hard here for almost a year and a half, and I think I've proven that I can do some stuff, and I'd like to wrestle on TV, just a little 6-7 minute match, put somebody over, maybe one of Mike's people he's feuding with, because it extends the bench. It makes it more interesting. I think I can show a wrinkle that people can't show. And basically I said that, and they kind of went, okay, cool. Next TV, you'll wrestle. And I was like, well, that was easy. What do we do for the other 4.5 minutes? But once you set yourself up for, you kind of do what they tell you to do, and you finally learn the rules of the game, so you can either break them or use them to your advantage. But it took me a long time, and some of it was uncomfortable. Some of it was sad. I cried. I was mad. F these people. Some of it, not all of it, but some of it. And I think that's really the thing you have to do. And again, our example of me wanting to do this last year, and you weren't mentally ready, and you would just come off a bad breakup, let's say it that way, with AEW.
Right.
And they had basically, quote unquote, there you go. See, they're coming after us. They basically, quote unquote, you drove each other crazy. I'll say it that way. I'm being diplomatic.
Yep.
But you were in no position to do it. And in fact, you regularly said, and I'm not picking on you for this, but you regularly said, I don't see why we're doing this. Why are we doing this? Why the F are we doing this? You're crazy for wanting to do this. This doesn't make any sense to me, because you weren't going to see it. I could have planted it in your eyes and you wouldn't have seen it because you weren't ready to see it. And that,
Right.
and all I said was, and we've talked about this a lot, you and I, because we talk all the time, obviously, but you had to come to that conclusion yourself. And not that make it his idea and all that. You had to see, I said, come with me. Let's do this for a while. Let's see how it goes. Just come with me. Just do your Kevin. I would always say, just do your Kevin thing. And you're like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I'm like, you do or don't know what it means. You're just not listening to yourself. And we had to go out, and it's just started flourishing for us. It's just started to grow. We're planting the seeds, and this is what it was going to be. This is what we talked about late last year, the beginning of this year. Let's plant the seeds for 26, 27, and 28. And that's kind of where we are. But now you talk.
And in building a business, in building our business, the business model is this: serve others first. Now, that's a frequently used phrase that others, there are Fortune 500 companies that I'm sure have that, prominently displayed, when you enter the lobby of their glass tower.
Right.
But for a small business like ours, like yours, folks watching, serving others first is very easy to do. And you have to actively try to do it. It's easy to do, but hard to do at the same time, because Bob's ego said, I want to wrestle. But Bob's servant heart grew and realized that what made him happy, instead of running into the brick wall over and over again and never moving the brick wall, he just walked around the wall because he wanted to help the people on the other side. And the more that he gave, and Bob doesn't give himself enough credit as he tells the story, Bob would see talent all over, and he was recommending people for the tryout camps. The first time I heard the name Michael Elgin was from Bob. And when he was at a camp, when Elgin was at his first Ring of Honor tryout camp, he said, wow, the guy's really made his physique. He used to be they used to call him Fat Hardy, and he was, just a big chubby guy. And now look at him. He's like a monster. Oh my gosh. And talking to Elgin, yeah, I tore up my knee. I got really serious in the gym, remade my physique, and looked like a star. Guess what? Got hired, became world champion. There were infinite numbers of examples of people that Bob recommended go to the ROH tryout camp. And through opening up his arms and inviting those people in, that's how Bob made his name and his legacy in Ring of Honor. It wasn't directly through his work in the ring, although he had his moments in his matches. It was through his servant heart and his ability to help others. And that is, Bob, our legacy now. That is what we are going to be known for. I did an interview with Brady Hicks. That's his name, Brady Hicks. Not Brady
You got it right.
Not Brady Boone, but Brady Hicks. Nope. And Brady referred to you. He said, Bob Evans has become like an internet guru to young wrestlers out there. And then he said, what does he mean to you? And I, started tearing up because, again, you mean so much to me, and you stayed with me when I was at my lowest point mentally just over a year ago, and continue to stay with me. And again, I can never thank you enough for that. But
I gotta go. I gotta leave.
That's it, Bob. Wait, Christmas crush. And that's okay. So how does Bob Evans become a quote unquote internet guru to PWI's Brady Hicks? Well, that's through building his reputation of serving others and providing service and value to them. But okay, Kevin, Bob, what you guys are talking about is easy for you because you have a body of work and a body of knowledge to fall back on, to bring to the table. I'm just a 26-year-old wrestler who graduated college or went to some schooling, and I don't have a lot of life experience yet, and I don't have a lot of time in the industry. How can I do what you're doing? And what we're saying is you can do it on the micro scale. It doesn't have to be the macro. It doesn't have to be the big thing. It has to be a lot of little things. One of the first things that Bob talks about, and we preach all the time, when you reach out and there's a place you want to work, and you've emailed and you've called and you've tried to get in, you know that they're running on the 28th, and you tell the promoter that you would like to come and help set up. And that's all you're there to do. Now, when you're there, of course, you're helping set up chairs and you're helping do whatever, and you're listening and you're watching and you're reading the room. Not for, hey, kid, go get your bag because you're wrestling. But, oh, man, we're supposed to pick up Nick Nemeth at the airport, and now his ride has fallen through. And the keys had better be in your hand saying, I can go get him, and run out the door to go get Nick Nemeth. That's a big example. A little example is helping, a child find the bathroom, helping somebody find something, and just being there for others. People notice the little things. People notice the little things all the time. People notice, how can I help? People notice, of course, right away, don't be a heater. That's the easy answer to the question.
Yep.
But the right answer is do the little things, be selfless in what you do. And trust me, people will notice. And if you do the little things enough over a consistent period of time, people will notice you for that. Now, but it's still a big club out there, Bob, and I ain't in it. So if you were to make one change as a wrestler to get noticed, what one big change would you make?
One big change as far as something they're not doing right now?
Yes.
Okay, so are we assuming? Well, let me ask questions now.
Yes.
I'm not being evasive. I'm actually trying to get to the bottom of the problem. So they're doing all the other stuff right. They're in the gym. They're practicing gear. Because that's the stuff you can work on without reaching out.
But the assumption is you can always be in better shape. You can always be tanner. You can always have better gear.
So these are all they're reasonably on their journey. In other words, that wouldn't be the first thing I would pick on.
Right. They're on their way. You see the guy. We've seen him. We've heard of him. We know him. We like him. We may have even done seminars. You may have even attended our seminars. He's actively somewhat doing the steps, maybe 5 of the 10, 4 of the 10, but he's not fully there. What's the one standout change he or she can make right away, or begin to make right away, that will help get him noticed?
This is one of the things that has probably made me like $5,000 since the beginning of the year. And I got to give it to my friend, Alex Hormozy. I know you want me to marry him. I'm being such a jerk for him, but
you love him.
Message the people that comment on your stuff. So people comment on your stuff. Now, not every fan, because that'd be weird if the wrestlers just started yapping every fan. But if you notice a promoter says something, and it might not even have anything directly to do with you, you may talk about a show, a situation. One of the guys talked about, I shared something the other day, Josh Crane, who's a good guy. And he said, and he was being sarcastic, obviously. And he said, hot take, but, I really enjoy when people wear deodorant because I don't want to smell your stinky armpits and all that. So if you share that, and there's a couple of promoters that say, oh yeah, we've had some real smelly guys and this and that, right? So now it doesn't really have much to do with you, but you can say, oh, thanks for commenting on that. I had a match with a guy a couple weeks ago, and my God, or I had a match with somebody and he smelled great and it was awesome. And he smelled so good. And we joked about how good he smelled, like a cologne counter or something. And then
I like that one better, because jumping onto a negative takes the conversation into a deeper negative hole.
Right.
If you can find a way to begin to sort of change the narrative and servant it up a little bit, I would recommend wrestler John Smith, because I wrestled him and I've wrestled him like 4 or 5 times,
Yeah.
and he always smells so good.
And
And
it can be
we
kind of
all,
a
yeah,
lighthearted thing. Yeah,
yes,
that's a good point. Or you could even be neutral, like, hey, I noticed what you said there was kind of real passionate or whatever, about this subject. And it doesn't have to be the deodorant thing. It can be something else. Why'd you, not why'd you say that? Cause that's weird, but, why do you feel so strongly about this subject? Why do you, what made you react that way? Did something like that happen on one of your shows?
yeah,
And you start a conversation and you build a rapport. Uh, by the way, no one does this but me and probably 5 other people, and they're all booked this weekend. So it's something that's going to help you grow your audience and deepen your audience. I have 14,000 followers, which is little compared to a lot of people, but I can almost guarantee that my 14,000 are deeper than most people's 500,000
right.
relationships with not everybody, but as many as I can. And I also, I also am fortunate where I get a lot of comments from people in the business. Hey, and it's a good start. It's a good conversation starter. And again, you don't want to go negative, but you can be humorous, or you can, hey, thanks for commenting. I really appreciate that. Maybe you make a comment about, hey, we should all be taking care of each other. And, thanks so much for Jane in Minnesota, who has Airbnb she let the boys use for a cheaper price because it was open, and helped us out because the hotel was all booked up and we were kind of screwed. So thank you, yada, yada, yada. And then somebody else tells a similar story and you go, yeah, it's cool when people help out, and again, you can start conversation from anywhere. And then you can always write the next question is, anyway, how are you? What are you up to? What are you doing? Or if I see somebody drew a good house and I know them, or I want to get to know them. Hey, great, great house the other day.
Mm-hmm.
What were the circumstances? Was it a fundraiser? Did you guys just kick ass and sell tickets? Was there a name on the show? I like to ask those questions because there's always a different answer. And then, what do you think you could have done better? What do you think you could? These are all questions I ask because I'm trying to get their business, and I can't get their business if I don't know what their business is. Not, I want to come wrestle for you because you run a good show. Well, yeah, so does everyone else. You're trying to jump up
Mm-hmm.
now. Where were you when we were on our ass 2 years ago and we were drawing 20 people? And now we're drawing 500, and now you want to be a part of this. Anybody can be a part of it when it's 500. How about when it's 20? And we went to a show recently and they didn't draw as well as they wanted to. And I'm there with my buddy Mosh, Andy, and we're trying to figure out how many seats we can fit in the place and get people to see the possibilities. It was a big, big space, can fit a lot of people. They didn't draw as well as they wanted to. And I said, what can we do to draw better? What are they doing? And once you get past nobody wants to go to wrestling anymore and people can't afford it. And well, the ball game up the street sold out and they're selling tickets for $100 a piece. So obviously people can afford it if they want to go, or
Mm-hmm.
the concert was $75 a ticket for nosebleeds and everybody's going to that. So it's not about that. So why our offer isn't good enough? So then you ask them then you talk to them about messaging and offers, and you start opening their eyes to the fact that maybe they have a little bit more control and responsibility over drawing people than they do, without saying, you suck, learn how to work, burn your promoter hat, quit. Because that's, first of all, I don't want them to do that. Second of all, it doesn't do anybody any good. And all you're doing is making an enemy instead of making a friend. So you say, what can I do to help? Can I help you with something? A promoter today reached out to me about sponsors. First question I asked is, what are you doing to get sponsors? We're doing everything. Well, you're not doing everything.
No.
And where do you promote? What are you doing? And I'm sure it's going to be two things that everybody does. Well, we put something online that said, we'll give you 4 tickets if you give us $87,000, and we'll give you 4 of the cheapest tickets and half a bag of popcorn. And you should be grateful that you're here giving us all this money. And that's not sponsorship. Sponsorship is partnering up with a business to grow each other. And once you learn that, and that's what by the way, that's what you're doing when you're trying to get booked too. They don't need you. Remember, it's a club that is busy. The lights are on, the music's pumping. They're selling drinks left and right in our metaphorical bar, in our analogous bar, the one I talked about. They don't need you. So why would they invite you in? Well, I have, this cool dance move I want to show. I have this cool music I want to play. I have this cool artist that I want to break who has never been heard in the country before. Or I have this new clothing line I want to wear, and I'm giving the first 20 people that come up to me, I'm going to give them a free, t-shirt or whatever. Those are just hypothetical examples in our hypothetical club. But why not? And here's another thing I would do immediately. This is the one that's going to get you booked more than ever. It's going to get you more noticed. It's going to get you more booked, and it costs this much.
How much?
This much for all our. Well, I am holding up. I'm actually almost like too sweeting here, but it's a zero. The donut, on the arm, as they say. Send an audio message, because I don't know about you, but when somebody sends me an audio message on Facebook, I can't wait to open it. It's like a Christmas present. Christmas Crush Wrestling. It's almost like a Christmas where I have to open it and I have to hear what that person said in that minute. So leave an audio message. Hi, this is Bob Evans. I just saw the house, man. Great job. You and your wife have really been working hard since the last time we talked. I have a couple of students I can drive with to, if there's any chance we can work together. We've been talking about it for years because I've already tried closing 8 times in the last 8 years. So we've been talking about this for years. Why don't we finally get the deal done? So eventually my closing rate is close to 100%. It just might take me 9 years to do it. Vancouver Island, right. We've been working on this since 2018. So it's not an immediate process for sure. So, but that's
now
stuff I immediately.
Let's because there's a lot of people that watch this that want to get in to the wrestling industry on the creative end or in the videography range or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I would go back to Bob's point earlier, the Alex Hormozi gem, and I would ask a creative person, the person who is creating the matches, who is posting on social media, I really like this idea. I really like this concept you came up with it. How did you come up with it? I want to learn more about your process because I see that you really do a lot of cool creative stuff. Ask them about them, because if you have, well, I have a bunch of creative ideas that I would like to work with you, and I would like to be part of your team. That's an immediate turnoff. That'll be shut to, because again, the creative person in wrestling is very, very open-minded for their own ideas, close-minded for the most part, close-minded to other ideas. And it's been often said that they love the smell of their own farts. Okay?
Yes.
So ask them the recipe for their smell. Right? Because they love their own stuff. They're so proud of it. What concept match are they posting about all the time? Well, talk about that. Talk about the things that these people like and ask them how they came up with that idea, because you want to learn, and you want to grow as a future content creator in pro wrestling, whether you want to be a videographer, you want to be a producer, you want to be a writer, you want to write for WWE. When you're learning the steps, learn from others. How did you come up with that idea? And get them talking about their stuff.
Right.
Get them talking about their ideas and take it and learn from it. And when the time is right, ask them, hey, could you take a moment? Because I've got this idea for this promotion I've been doing at home, and I wanted to run it by you to see what you think, to see if it has any merit. And, of course, said in your own way. And then they become your guru, your expert, your subject matter expert, even if their ideas are not that great. And even if their bandwidth is very low, they will find a way to at least chime in with what you're doing. Oh, I don't want to do that because they might steal my idea. Good. Give it away.
Mm-hmm.
Give it away. But give it away indirectly. Don't just spam people with, I've got this idea for this match and I've got this idea for this concept and I want to do this and here's my show and here's how I would start. The music plays and this guy comes out.
Yeah.
Nope. 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 Ask them about them. They love the sound of their own name. They love the sound of their own promotion's name. They love the sound of their creative ideas being spoken out loud. So as tribalistic and as close-minded as some wrestlers, some promotions can be about their talent, boy, creatively, it's even stronger. So that's where you really got to be patient, and you've got to be just seeking feedback for your own stuff through commenting on their stuff. And then from there, you can ask if the opportunity would arise, could I come watch a show and see what you do? Or can we get together sometime, as your, how you do your creative process. I'd love to be there to learn from you guys. And again, he's just here to learn. He's just here. Oh, wow, that's impressive. We had a guy, so we did a camp last Saturday at Excite Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a great time. Johnny Moose, Sean Carr, HC Loke, those guys were awesome. Thank you. We had an amazing time. We saw some terrific talent. We saw some people that were going to be presenting on August the 9th. Sean Carr is going to be on the card. Really excited about that. And there's going to be others as well. But one of the guys who attended was not part of the school, was not part of the promotion. He was not booked on that day. He's from Southern Pennsylvania and drove all the way up. It was about a 4-hour ride for him. And his wrestling is not where it needs to be. But he said, I also do social media and do those things for wrestling promotions that I work in. And the light went on. Ding. And so he's going to be involved with what we do. Not wrestling right now because his wrestling isn't there. He has pieces, but he needs more pieces. And mostly he needs time. Experience wrestling better people.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in a spot now where he's going to get more matches with better people and he's going to get better over time. But in the meantime, let's have him plugged in and let's have him see what we're doing and utilize the tools that he has now, which is social media knowledge. Excuse me, doing the work that he's already doing for other promotions, have him do a little work for us. And we'll pay him for it, of course. But he's a project and a long-term project. So he came there to learn and didn't actively ask for anything. It was just in me asking him questions about himself and what his wrestling background was. And I learned this about him. And now all of a sudden, oh, it's something that I do. Now, is there another skill that you have? Do you make gear? Do you do t-shirt design? Well, three or four people came to me and said, hey, by the way, that wrestler over there that you like, he does t-shirts as well. In fact, he does all the t-shirts for us. And they're really nice t-shirts. Ding. His wrestling isn't good enough yet, which he knows, but he's getting better. But he does t-shirts. Ding. The light goes on. And I pointed at him. And it's like, okay, so that guy's going to be in the mix, so to speak. And we'll be on cards.
And that was one of the guys, sorry to break in, but that was one of the guys that was Tyler, Sean Carr's cousin.
Right.
And he took my seminar last time and he really ran with it. Sean said, yeah, he did a lot of the stuff you recommended. First of all, he's out there and he's at the table pretty much it's the Matt Cardona, be at the table as much as possible. Being at the table, greeting people, literally when they walk through the door, hi, I'm Tyler and I'm wrestling tonight. I wrestle as Tyler this, and I'm wrestling tonight. You gonna cheer for me? And that's what you do. And then has his own shirts, has his own kind of brand, has his own stuff, and does it for other people as well. Doesn't rely on I wrestle good, I'm a good wrestler, because he is a good wrestler, but he's not a great wrestler. And he's a good local wrestler who might not stand out in the pack. But if he can do a bunch of other things, boy, I can put him on a show now, can't I? Because he can do a bunch of other stuff. And you can take the $25 payday or the $50 payday or whatever it is, or you can say, wow, they're paying me to show up to the flea market. And that doesn't mean you bring, your old socks and stuff like that to sell. But if you have merchandise, don't leave it at home. Every time you leave merchandise at home, you lose money because You might sell a couple of pictures. 20 pictures gets you home. 20 pictures would be great, but $20 in pictures gets you home. Even if you give a couple of pictures away to sell sell a t-shirt on us. You buy a t-shirt and I'll sign this picture for you for free and give you the picture. You can hang it on the wall while you're wearing the t-shirt. But you can't do that if you don't have any stuff there. And they go, well, who would want to buy stuff with me? Well, if you get out there and you introduce yourself and kind of make yourself available and answer people's questions and make yourself, if you're a baby face, and make yourself accessible to a degree without losing the illusion, you'd be surprised how many people will buy stuff just because they like you. I like this. I'm going to buy a shirt. At that point, I don't care why you buy the shirt. I care that I don't have to bring it home with me and pack it up again. And it's someone else's responsibility now. And I gave them a good memory. And again, you served first. You gave them a great memory, and now they want to support you. You brought them over. You made a fan. That's you made a fan. And maybe your wrestling would have caught their eye, but now you caught their eye outside the ring. So now your wrestling will speak for itself when you get in there, but your wrestling will look better to that person because perception is reality, and they're going to be excited that they know you. And hey, that's my buddy Tyler that my son took pictures with, and we're going to cheer for him. And that's a nice special moment. Or you can say there's no money in wrestling. This move is really going to wow them, and maybe the move will wow them. But why don't you wow them beforehand so then the move is even extra special when they see it?
I'll give one example of serving others and how that turns into building a reputation and how it can grow your business. Our pal, Coach Mikey, who was I first met Mike through the Ugly Ducklings, and he was their ringside cheerleader type of coach. It was Coach Mikey.
Yeah.
And he was there for them. He wasn't there for himself. He was there for them. And I noticed in PWX that he was like just so giving of everything. Right. And never once said, what about me? Well, here's something I can do. It was always, Mike, would you be willing to do this? Oh, of course. Do you think it'll help? It'll help the match? Yeah. It'll help get the boys over? Yeah, absolutely. That's all he cared about was getting the boys over.
Yep.
And built this reputation within the industry of being this completely selfless guy because he really wasn't looking for anything for himself. He just wanted to help them get over. Yep. And they did. And now that has parlayed into, and I'm not making a one-to-one connection, but again, he has now found himself as one of the dad bods, the dancing troupe with the Savannah Bananas.
He's a man-ana.
He's a man-ana.
Yes.
And that is again, it's not a one-to-one correlation, but the philosophy that Mikey had in wanting to get the Ducks over is the same philosophy that he has every day.
Right.
And so he may have had to do 50 other things before he got this opportunity with the Bananas. But what he did was, and what's his job? He wants to go out there and entertain the fans to make the experience for the fans even better.
Yep.
That's selflessness. Now, he's part of a troupe, but he's getting himself over by being a part of this troupe because of the right mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So let's put a big bow on this, Bob.
Yes.
And what you said of perception being reality is a truism, and it's a fallback cliche at the same time. And the idea of if perception is reality, then you have to change the perception about you.
Yes.
And that, I think, is the biggest thing. Would you agree?
I do. And as we wrap things up, I think you taught me a lot about perception and perception being reality and things like that. Just when you had gotten off your WWE run, that was a big theme you used to hit early in those early seminars you did. And I think if you can create, and we're not talking about being fake, but we're talking about, and I think Richard Holiday had a nice thing about this the other day, make everything you do kind of important. and don't be self-important, but hey, I have this new merch coming out. I have this match coming up. Cut a promo. We've talked about it in a soon to be released podcast when we were driving that was taped a couple weeks ago about, don't worry, the money will come later. Don't worry about the money right now. It'll come later. But create the perception that you're a paid person who does things for money, and you are. But realize that, and I saw it the other day, 95% of live performers don't make a living at the thing they do in sports, in performing, in anything. So if you are fortunate enough to make a full-time living or make a profit, at least, you're really high on that deal. So most people make their money at the boring stuff. And we're learning that there's a lot of boring stuff to do with this promotion that we're running. And the boring stuff is the stuff that, hey, the creative stuff, let's book guys for matches. Okay, but we got to wait for the trademark lawyer, and we got to wait for this, and we got to wait for this piece of paperwork to go through, and I got to open a bank account, and I have to, that's the boring stuff. But that's the stuff that's gonna, and we have to create the perception with all the fun stuff. But hidden in all that is the hard work. And Coach Mikey's a great idea, because I'm sure when he was doing the 10 years of wrestling for very little money, I don't think he realized that it would build into a job where he entertains people for a living, because I don't know if that was just his, I'm sure somebody saw him on the Independents and said, boy, this guy's a bundle of energy. We know the Savannah Bananas owner likes WWE. I wonder if he would like this guy. And I when I talked to Mikey about it a couple months ago, he hadn't even met Jesse yet. He hadn't even met the owner of the Bananas yet. So it's not like Jesse saw him at some indie show and picked him. I'm sure it was all reputation, like you said, service to others, and perception of reality. Like, I know the Ducklings were on the hustle like me and Tim were, and there wasn't always a lot of money, but boy, they made the most noise. And most of it was good noise. Like, they made a lot of noise. They were very active on social media. They were very active on showing spots, and Coach Mikey was an integral part of that. Even though he wasn't taking all the bumps, he was one of them. He was to the point I thought he was a wrestler, and he's like, no, I'm not really a wrestler. I just kind of coach these guys. And I said, in story, and I said, well, I think you're coaching them for real, because it just seems to be helping. You're a big piece of the puzzle. And but that's the perception. Hey, this guy's a big, and who knows, maybe they thought he was a baseball coach. Maybe they thought he was a real sports coach, and that got the conversation going. I don't know how it led specifically to it. I just know that if he put himself in a position where he was at 50 to 75 to 100 shows a year, and somebody saw him, and somebody who could transfer his skills either made the suggestion, or maybe he asked, how do I get involved in this? We're expanding. We're looking to do this. I know they were looking for people in the wrestling business a couple months ago who were in good shape with good physique. So that's I'm out, but that's what they wanted. And
wait a second, not too bad,
not too shabby,
not too shabby.
But
famous promotional video.
You missed your opportunity.
Damn it.
But the point is that he didn't go in saying 10, 15 years ago, I'm going to be a big piece of the puzzle for the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. He just said, I'm going to go help my friends and build their business, and, maybe some sun will shine on me too. And it did. So That's it. I mean, I don't really think it was a big major plan. I think he just, made it happen. So, and again, perception is reality. If you look world traveled, and you're out there a lot and you're doing your thing, it's not really not really crazy to say, hey, this guy could be a good fit. He's already used to the travel. He's already used to being in front of crowds. He's he's certainly not scared of, looking a little silly, or, having his shirt up to show his belly a little bit. That's kind of the stuff he wears for wrestling. He basically wears the same outfit he wears for wrestling, just with Savannah Bananas on it. The same hat is the same way, with the bill tucked up and the whole thing. So he's again, he's almost built a little business around it. And everything he posts is gratitude. I'm so appreciative. This is awesome. And, he's strategic too, because
Right. And do that thing, guys and girls, do that thing for everything that you do now.
Mhm.
Because Bob said he makes it look bigger. You make it look bigger by talking about it in glowing terms
Yes.
and not self gratification, but like, look at me and look at how great I am. But just say, my friend Tom came up with this new t-shirt design, and I'm so thankful to Tom. And if you're interested in one, please let me know. That, because my friend Tom created this for me. So whatever. Again, all of that looks bigger than what
Yep.
you are. We had a great time Friday. A spirited crowd at the Armory. We had such a blast with ABC Wrestling, and I can't wait to can't wait for the next event next Friday. And there were 12 people there, and the boys all hated the show, and it was rotten, and the ring broke. But just show appreciation for everything, right? And be thankful for every opportunity, and make it all seem bigger. And through those efforts, you may still hit a brick wall.
Yep.
This is the hard work, as Bob says to me. This is the hard work that few others are willing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to embrace the suck. You have to be willing to run into the brick wall. You have to see the path around the brick wall. And from there may be 10 other brick walls. So keep going. You're on the right path. You're doing the right thing. People will notice you. Don't give up. It's the hardest journey you're ever going to take in your life. And if you stop, you'll regret it. So I could have stopped. I could have thrown in the towel. I could have stayed in that very dark room over there to my left and just sat in there and wasted the rest of my life. Or I could have gotten the help I needed, get my life back together, and continue to serve others. And that's what I'm doing now. And through that, more opportunities are coming my way every day.
Love it. Love it. We're going to end on that.
Christmas Crush Wrestling is not happening, by the way.
Well,
Now, I will entertain as a caveat. I would entertain Thanksgiving wrestling after the turkey goes in the oven nice and early. A Turkey Boys wrestling show. Shout out to the Turkey Boys.
the Turkey Boys would have to be there on Thanksgiving, but or we could say that the Turkey Boys, we don't know where they are. They might have gotten caught, and then right at the end they make a big run in and chase away all the heels.
Spirit of 76 with the burned drumstick.
A spirited crowd.
Right. So yeah, the turkey goes in the oven, and now you got 4 to 6 hours to kill.
There you go.
Right. And we've all seen the parade, and the football games haven't started yet. So I think in that 9 a.m. to noon slot, I think that's a really good time for a wrestling show.
There you go. See, I'm starting to turn you. Christmas Crush Wrestling on its way.
No. All right. So that's going to do it for this edition of Almost Live. Of course, as always, we love and appreciate all of you and the sharing of this information. Again, this isn't proprietary. This isn't for you. We give it all away for free.
Yep.
Tell everybody anybody who's struggling, no matter what business they're in, whether it's wrestling, whether it's baking, whether it's chili cooking, whether it's t-shirt design, music, whatever, arts, entertainment, share it because it's all applicable. And we can help you. One-on-one coaching, we can, we'll see you at seminars, wherever we are, we want you to be. And mostly we want you to be with us each week here for another edition of Almost Live. Safe travels, my friend, out to Vancouver Island.
Yes. And you'll be home. You'll be home cooking the fatted calf and getting to put together the final plans for the promotion. So it's hopefully we'll have all that for you guys Tuesday, and then
I jump off of this. I call the video production guy. STF Media is number one. So we're going to set that up, finalize all of that. Then I got to call the trademark lawyer. Then I just looked and I got an email from the guy who's going to offer DJ services for us as well. So we'll have the music and everything all square. And the pieces are coming together.
Yes.
And Tuesday, we're going to announce everything on social media, logo, company name, names for the card, how to order tickets. You'll be able to buy tickets. It's going to be exciting. And I just can't wait.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
Saturday, August 9th, Carlisle, Pennsylvania, Carlisle Expo Center. And this edition of Almost Live with Bob and Kevin has been brought to you by this famous phrase. Bob, any final words?
Way to go, Broomstick.